All righty. We are good to go. Good evening, everybody. I am Brandon. Griff, please
And
introduce yourself, sir.
and I am Griff. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your little.
Oh no, dude, it's all good. OBS didn't want to close for some reason. It kept wanting to do you want to run in safe mode? And I'm like, no, I'm doing other things. And that was the reason I didn't start the show right at 8. So I'm sorry to keep you waiting, and audience, I'm sorry to keep you waiting as well. Hope everyone is doing good tonight, but go ahead and continue.
Yeah, I'm Griff. I'm sure everybody that subscribes to Warning Take has seen me somewhere before at some point. Maybe even my own show. So, yeah. Thanks for having me on tonight. It's good to, like you said, timeline cleanse, right? All the junk that's out there that I may or may not
Yeah.
contribute to from time to time. but
I mean,
but
I
yeah,
do.
good
I
to get
just
away.
do it in my mind.
There you go.
Because I mean, I live in the political discourse capital of the world, and let me put it this way: the week of the election, Desiree and the dogs and I are going to be in a cabin somewhere very far west of here.
Oh.
I'm not dealing with that shit. No, we are not going to be anywhere nearby. So everybody out there in the audience, so we do have some topics we are going to cover tonight, but in addition to because this stream wasn't planned at all, but in addition to the topics we are going to cover tonight that we have a little bit of news on, whatever you guys want, let us know in the chat and everything like that, and we'll do our best to cover as much as possible. I'm not really on a strict timeline or anything. Knock it off.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, no, I love that dog to death, but there's times where he's just like, I'm as calm as I can be, and then all of a sudden, you're always going to be a puppy, ain't you? You're a rodent. I don't even know why I keep you around.
Oh, man.
I love chirping my dog. That's one of the best parts about having a dog. You can talk shit to him as much as you want. And
they can't talk back.
Yeah, and they can't go to school and be like, oh, my dad said this. My dad called me a pigeon.
Oh, that's good.
Alrighty, so what we will start out with here, because Papa Griff's in here, we are going to cover some of the topics here in the chat, and then we will go on to the predisposed topics that we have. I have them all right here, the ones that were posted on X, because none of the news that we have is particularly big that would take long to cover, but there is definitely like a few things worth noting. The big thing I'm happy about is seeing Fost out of that neck brace. And because even if it was just strictly for the wedding, it's still good that they would even allow him to take it off. Either that or he just said, fuck it, and took it off anyway. He pulled an Eric Cole, and he's just like, yeah, I'm not getting my picture taken with this damn thing on. But I really hope he's doing well. So let's see. Papa Griff says, I'm thinking Coach Rod has a big job ahead to get the Canes back to the playoffs. What do you foresee, Brandon, Matt, Griff? I'm going to let you take that one first.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not as easy of a path as we've had the last few years, whatever. However, I mean, I still see this as a playoff team as constructed. What is that?
It's the Monster Hard Seltzer, and it's really damn good. It doesn't have caffeine in it. It doesn't have caffeine. It's not Four Loko 2.0. But it's like I was at Total Wine the other day and I went to get some stuff and I saw this and I'm just seal of approval.
Is it good?
It's damn good. I got the variety pack too, so I got 3 more to try.
Well. Anyway,
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. No, I'm always up for a nice little introduction to a new drink.
Yeah. It's good.
Anyway, I do see this as a playoff team. They are going to have to work harder to get there. But I do think they get there. And, I think the challenge for the coach is getting all the new pieces to develop the chemistry, right? I mean, there's a lot of guys are still here, have played together. But if you look at, assuming that Shane Gostisbehere and Sean Walker play together on the defense, and then you keep the other 2 pairs the same from last year, assuming they play together, they've got some work to do. For some reason in Rod's system, it takes the defense a little bit longer to learn it than it does like, a forward. But, Shane Gostisbehere has been here before, so he kind of has an idea. But just developing the chemistry with Walker and I think that's a challenge. And then as far as the forwards go, the main changes are really to the bottom six. So,
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. But, for the most part, our top six is going to be somewhat similar to how it's been, other than, Gensel and Teravainen. But I think they're going to get there.
Mm-hmm. I do too. So I was saying this before when we started seeing a lot of the offseason changes happen. I think that this team is a Metro 3, Wild Card 1, relatively speaking. Now, as far as the defense goes, and I've got some stuff I'm putting together for a deep dive on like all the metrics with all of our new defensemen, of which one of them is not really that new if you think about it, in that of Goss Despair. I actually think that the Chatfield and Orlov pair, the more I look at it, I think the Chatfield and Orlov pair is going to get broken up. The reason
Really?
being is reason being is because Sean Walker is good defensively, but he definitely leans towards the offensive side. He's not all too dissimilar from Goss Despair. Now, I think between the two of them, you could have enough defensive competency against a lot of teams. But if you're playing against Edmonton, Toronto, Washington, teams that need to win 6-5, that pair is going to get picked apart in a lot of cases. And that also happens in the playoffs. What I think is going to happen at some point, especially if it's not working, I think that they're going to go back to the Chatfield and Goss Despair pair, because that opens up Chatfield to do whatever he wants. And Orlov can open up Sean Walker to do whatever he wants. And Slavin and Burns is not going to get broken up. I really I don't see that happening. Rod likes that pair way too much, regardless of what my opinions are on it. With the other pieces we have now, I can see why why Slavin and Burns need to stay together. So Rod does have a tough job ahead of him, but I think that this is going to be kind of like the 2019 season, I think, in terms of, I don't think it'll be that nail biting. I don't think it'll be like, hey, we had to win game 81 and have something else happen again. And I don't think it's going to be that. I think around March 28th or so, you'll see them lock up a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And then they'll go in, like I said, either Metro 3 or Wild Card 1. This team is not that bad. Now, I don't even want to say it's not that bad. It's still a good team.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
What I think that you're going to have to do, or what you're going to have to see, is a lot of our mainstays in the lineup are going to have to step up. KK is going to have to bounce back. We'll get to that. Bradley Nadeau is going to essentially have to fill Steph Nathan's spot in terms of productivity. I think he will. He just doesn't score the crash and bang goals. He's more of a sniper. So I think that the first couple of months with these guys are going to be really rough. It's going to be worse than last year with people sounding the alarm. They're going to be like, oh my God, it's over. The team's moving to Quebec. They're going to be saying all that type of shit before Thanksgiving. And then things will, the wheels are going to look like they're falling off, and then people are going to start getting stuff together, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree for the most part. I don't know. I don't really see in my opinion, if Rod breaks up the Orlov Chatfield pair, it won't be to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I just think that pair was too good at the end of last year to go away from it. And
Mm-hmm.
you have a really solid top four.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, you got a solid six altogether, but I'm saying a really solid top four. Both of those pairings can shut anybody down for the most part. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so, but who knows? Maybe we'll see. I mean, the Goss Despair Walker pairing could be, bleeding goals like.
I'm afraid that's going to be like Orlov and D'Angelo type of.
It could be.
That's the only thing I'm worried about with it.
That and that may be the case, but I think he goes to it first. But with that, I think we are set to see a monster season from Dmitry Orlov.
Mm-hmm.
Now that he's had a full year in the system, he's coming in. He can focus on hockey from day one, or not hockey, but on his game from day one instead of trying to learn the system.
Mm-hmm.
And what if he gets any kind of momentum early, he's going to have, I think, a great year and work toward his next contract, wherever that is. But yeah, I think if KK can find his groove, get his game back, and have a let's shoot 40-point season, 50-point season. If we could just get that,
mm-hmm.
and Jarvis continues his progression, and We get the Andrei Svechnikov that we know is there.
Mhm.
If we get him right now that he's had a full season off his ACL tear. I mean, look, this group has all the makings of a surprise. If Nadeau comes in and can, 15 goals, maybe 20 goals, he has the potential to score more.
I think 20.
Assuming he's on the roster. I mean, this team could surprise. I mean, they could. We're one injury away to the New Jersey Devils from being able to overtake them again for second in the Metro, in my opinion. I mean, I think it's.
I agree. We have so much depth in the farm. It's like New Jersey has some prospects, but not nearly as many as we do.
I mean, they're going to put all their chips in the pot on Jacob Markstrom, right? Who's after that? Who's sitting behind Markstrom on the? Is it? I don't even know.
Schmidt, I think, or did they trade him?
No, they traded him.
Vitek Vanacek, then, isn't it?
No, they traded him last season.
Oh, you're right. I can't even keep up with all the trades New Jersey's made.
They brought in Blackwood and the guy Kapanen, or let's see,
Kakko Kakkonen.
Yeah, they brought those guys in at the end of last year for whatever reason. But after Markstrom, I don't know who their backup is. So, I mean, I don't even know if they have one right now.
I'd have to look at their roster to know for sure, because New Jersey's made so many moves in the last 12 months that it's hard to keep up with.
BG in the chat. BG says Jake Allen. That's right.
Jake Allen. Okay.
That's right.
Thank you, BG. Good to see you, bud.
Yeah.
Coming in, making the big save there for us.
I'm not a Jake Allen believer either. So Markstrom, I mean, we haven't seen Markstrom stay healthy a full season in a long time. So I'm just saying this team could surprise us. I mean, a little bit of help, a little bit of luck on our side. You never know. I mean, they could. You never know. We took a Svechnikov-less team to the Eastern Conference Final 2 seasons ago with a roster
Svechnikov, Pacioretty, and Kasha-less team.
And Kasha and Teravainen got hurt in the first round.
Yeah, he broke his hand.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, Brock Nelson or whoever it was that slashed him broke his hand.
We rode that team. We rode that team to the Eastern Conference Final. I understand we didn't win a game, but we still got there.
If it wasn't for Bobrovsky, they wouldn't have won a single one.
Absolutely. So you just never know. That roster, in my opinion, was worse than the one that we're going to put on the ice this year. So, I mean, at least the forward group. So, I mean, you just never know. You never know.
I don't look at this team and go, wow, cup contender. But at the same time, some of the most fun I ever had was the 2018-2019 season. Now, part of that was me, like, I'll tell a quick story here. When so the night the Hurricanes played the Capitals in Game 7, I tried to get tickets to go, and I couldn't get them. I was the cheapest one I found was up in the 400s, which is the equivalent of the 300s at PNC, like all the way at the back wall for like $900. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And so what I did was I used to, so the Capitals practice facility used to have pickup hockey at 5:30 in the morning on Wednesdays, and that game took place on a Wednesday. So I went there to play that morning, and I had a beer league game that night too. So I remember I'm skating around in the morning and everything. Some of the players are coming in, and Todd Reardon comes in. I take my visor and I just kind of cock it up, and I have this shit-eating grin looking at him. I'm just like, because we weren't supposed to make it 7 games against them. And then later that night, I played my beer league game, and before that, we were out watching the game at this one place that we hang out at. As soon as it was about halfway through the third period and we had to leave. It was right after, at that point it was 3-2. I want to say it was. Teravainen scored the second goal. We're in the truck, and my friend Brett's in there, and he says, hey, Jordan Stahl just tied it. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's 3-3. I get back just in time, or we get to the rink just in time for me to see Brock McGinn sweep the puck out of the crease in the third period.
Yeah.
So then I had to get on the ice, and where we were at, they have 2 sheets of ice there. They have the NHL size one and the Olympic size one at this rink we were playing at. And on the Olympic size one we were on that night, you can see the lobby that's up above us, and they have a really big TV there. So I'm skating by every time that in between whistles, I'm skating up to a face-off. I'm looking, trying to see what's going on, because I'm like, if everyone just sits there in silence, I don't know what happened. If I see everyone jump up in joy, I know what happened, and it's not good. So we got done. I go through the handshake line real quick. I'm like, good game. Get the fuck out of my way. And I go into the locker room. I throw my helmet off. I throw my gloves down. I drop my sticks on the ground, and I run upstairs, and I'm watching it. about 2 minutes prior to the face-off where Brock McGinn scored the game winner. And I went after that. I have never yelled so loud in my life. I woke up the entire Northern Virginia, Fairfax County area, and I did not have an ounce of humility when I went back in that locker room. I'm going through there pointing my finger at people execution style. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and especially fuck you. So it was
all caps
like,
guys, huh?
pretty much. And
Yeah.
I had no humility that night whatsoever. I was the biggest douchebag I could have possibly been. And I have absolutely no regrets about that. Now, back to the original topic here and everything with that. I had a lot of fun that season because the expectations were not the greatest. But I also know that when I'm sitting there watching these games on TV and I'm hearing we want playoffs in the chance in March, knowing that that's a viable possibility, good with that. This team is not one I look at and say, cup, but I also didn't look at the team in 2019 and go, conference finals.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You never know. I mean, you just never know.
This team is better than that one.
Yeah, they exactly.
And it got younger. So it's like, it's not one of those things that I look at and then I'm like super worried about. This is a retooling year, a building year, a figure it out year. Figure it out year is what you called it. I think that's a great way to describe it. And we saved ourselves from having to do an actual rebuild for like a decade just from this. I'm good with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I call it the stepping stone, right? Like, you bring in some pieces that'll be with you moving forward, and you bring in some guys to kind of give a chance to and see what happens. And then, next year you got some age coming off the roster and some money, a lot of money freeing up. And, you still got you still got your core guys there. We have an opportunity to add to the core, right? With Necas coming in, and look, you bring in Necas and Morrow. Your defense is, we know what our defense is going to look like next season. Then you've got your, one or two spots you can fill in the forward group, and you have enough money to bring in big names. And look, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to say this is going to happen, but look, out of all the teams that have money there's not a lot of teams that have money to spend next offseason. We are one that does have that. And there is a big fish hitting the pond next offseason.
Nikolai Ehlers.
No, even bigger. Ooh. Even bigger. As of now. And Leon Draisaitl is a free agent next offseason.
I am not opposed to that idea at all.
I'm just saying.
If he makes it there.
If he makes it there. But you got to look, Edmonton doesn't have a lot of money. And I mean, I don't know what he's going to, what he's going to require as far as money goes, but we would have it to spend.
Right.
So I'm just saying, I'm not saying we're the front runners to get him, or if he's even, I'm not saying that he's going to make it to free agency. He could wind up signing with Edmonton. Who knows? But if he does go to free agency and test the market, I'm just saying, Carolina is one of the few teams with money to spend.
Yes. See, that's one of the reasons why I'm happy we have all this cap space, because I know I think a little bit smaller when it comes to free agency splashes, but we've been linked to Nikolai Ehlers for 5 years on and off. And his cap hits $6 million, I believe, right now. And he's due for a raise of, say, $1 million, $1.5 million. Carolina could absolutely afford to grab him, and he'd be a perfect fit. Draisaitl, I think, would be not nearly as perfect of a fit as Nikolai Ehlers, but he's also a much more skilled player than someone like Nikolai Ehlers. So they've got plenty of options in that regard. But I'm just going to enjoy the ride this season. I'm not going to expect a whole lot. If they have a late second round exit, as far as I'm concerned, mission accomplished. Get the young guys some playoff experience, because it's a completely different animal. The deeper you can go, the better. And if you get deep enough, Brent Burns is going to walk in that locker room and say, guys, this is my last chance. Let's fucking win, please. And then after that, his money, Orlov's money, comes off the books. And then you don't have to worry about getting stuck in cap hell, even though you're going to have to pay people a little bit more if you did go to the cup final, if you did go deep in the conference finals. So this is not a bad position to be in by any means.
No. And everybody's sounding the alarm, and all these opposing fans from other teams that are talking about Carolina's trash, this, that, and the other. They don't realize they don't realize what, this is a step back for one season. You take one step back to take a big step forward. So I'm just saying, it's not bad.
That's one thing I love about our fan base. When it comes to Hurricanes fans, what I've noticed is they are either super, super hardcore hockey fans or they're complete casuals. There's no in between. Every Hurricanes fans I've ever talked to is either like, I only watch the playoffs, or they're like really, really intuitive. And then you have some that are, okay, you do have some that are kind of in between, but like, I've noticed like the original Six fans are like the worst ones lately, saying all this stuff about like, oh, well, the thing I don't get, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, everyone that wants Alexander Nikishin dumbs down his value to try and include him in these trade packages that don't benefit anybody.
Yeah.
So that's why I just like, I don't understand that. I feel like our fan base is very, very intuitive, honestly. I really do. Especially the ones who hung out through the entire playoff drought, or a good chunk of the playoff drought if they got into it during that time. So Papa Griff also says, I want to see PK step up big time. I think he will. This is the year we need to find out what we have with him. I want him to start somewhere around 45 to 50 games. I think that this is the moment. We need to let him have it.
I hope. I just hope they do. I could see Rod just being like, Freddie's our guy. I mean, I could see.
Freddie's going to have to lose the net.
I think that's the way it's. I mean, I don't know. I hope that Kochetkov is our opening night starter. And, maybe he gets 2 games out of 3 for the whole season. I would like to see it, but
yeah, I would too. We got to know what we have with him. If nothing else, if he can be hot going into the playoffs and Rod decides Kochetkov is the guy, but like, I'm really hoping Kochetkov gets, because we need to know.
We do.
He's due for a contract extension, or he's contract extension eligible till July 1st of 2025. We need to know now what we have with Kochetkov.
Yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction. That, I mean, he's going to be in Raleigh all year. He's not going to be in Chicago to start the season like he was 2 years ago, and they're not going to send him to, some AHL team, whatever. He's going to be here all year. He's going to be, Ronta's gone now. They're not bringing anybody else in, so it's good that he's here. I just hope they go to him.
Yeah, me too. Let's see what Dylan here has to say. Dylan Bollinger, welcome back, buddy. Hoping for good news the upcoming season, since everything that could go wrong for Blaney today did. Yeah, I was washing dishes and watching the last few laps of that. I'm sorry, buddy. He also says KK looks like it put on some muscle.
I saw that today.
Oh, dude, he looks like a lawyer in that suit, but he's also like,
yes,
I noticed that. I'm like, he put on about 10 to 15 pounds at least of muscle.
I thought that exact thing. I have this little like notebook. It sounds ridiculous, but I have this little notebook that I keep just by my bed. If I
do the same,
there you go.
Thing. I do the exact same thing.
If I'm like in bed and like in the morning and I'm scrolling Twitter, or if I'm, just random thought pops into my head that I want to cover on a show, I just write it down. And I put that, my book is downstairs. I put talk about KK hitting the gym, because I absolutely noticed that.
All right. So you know what? This is a good segue right here. And I'm still keeping up with y'all's comments and everything like that here. But this is a good segue right here. Here's what. So I'm going to do a more extensive video on this at some point, and I'll have you guys on after the initial presentation of it, because it's going to be one of those standalone type of videos like that that you click on in StreamYard, and I'm going to let it play, and then I'm going to let everybody give their opinions on it. Not today, but another day. Here's what I think with Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I actually wrote a bunch of this stuff down, so I'll read it off before I break it down by the numbers. Let me flip to the page that I have that on. Okay. Yeah, it's this one right here. So here's what I have written down for Jesperi Kotkaniemi in terms of the video I was going to make. I have a bunch of statistics referencing 2 other players that have been in similar situations. One of them is William Karlsson from the Vegas Golden Knights, and the other one is Alexis Lafreniere from the Rangers. I think that Jesperi Kotkaniemi is at a similar pivotal point in his career as these guys were, and they made it happen. The difference is with Lafreniere, there was expectations because he was a high pick. Just like with KK, there's expectations because he's a high pick. William Karlsson, not so much. He was exposed in the expansion draft. Vegas took him, and he said, you know what, fuck you guys. I'm going to be a fucking 40 goal scorer now, and that's what he did. So what I think we're looking at with Jesperi Kotkaniemi, here's the things that I wrote for him to build on his game. One, he needs to work on his skating. Now, a lot of people will say, like, well, if he hasn't figured that out yet, why would he figure it out now? I can't remember her name, but the girl who's doing the skating instruction at the camp and everything like that.
Yeah.
There are guys who are well into their 30s that still go see skating instructors because either they develop bad habits, they get older, they want to change things, they want to do something to improve it. These guys are professional athletes. They can do little things to change everything that they do. Yes, Jesperi Kotkaniemi needs to work on the skating in terms of the fundamentals and the basics of it are good. He's got a few little mechanics that I would like for him to change. The stride extension is really good. He covers a lot of ice, not because of the speed, but because of how tall he is. His edge work could use a little bit of work. The other good thing is he is incredibly stable on his feet. That's why he can play a physical game. The next thing was, and it looks like he's already covering this, get back to the physical aspect of his game because KK defends through being physical. He's not the poke checking type. He's to lay the body to separate the puck or separate the player from the puck as opposed to separating the puck from the player. It looks like he's already working on that. Then he needs to get back to above 50% in the face-off circle. Then once he's there, after that, once he just gets those little things right, get the physicality back in your game, get the defensive game back, skate a little bit better. Once he gets those things, it's going to be a good snowball effect. And the next thing you know, he's going to be a 60-point player. That's all I think that he really has to do. This is not an unsalvageable player by any means. I know that I advocated for times to trade him if you get the right offer. That's not the case now. Kuznetsov is gone. That's why I let this guy settle into this role, and I really, really think he can do well.
Yeah, I agree. I think you were on with me the other day, and we said, hey, look, give him another year. This could be, he could turn it around, a nice little refresh in the off season. I just wish last year he lost all of his confidence, and you could see, he would come in, he would have a perfect opportunity for a shot and he'd pass, or he'd take the shot and it would sail 10 feet over the net, or, and then there was a couple times toward the end of the season where he was hitting, he could not miss the post. And I think there was one that even went like a game winner that went off the knob of the blocker.
That was game 4. He did that to Semyon Varlamov. I remember exactly where I was at. I was watching it at a place up here, and I'm sitting there going, I'm like, that poor kid can't buy one. I felt so bad for him. I was like, he did everything he was supposed to do in that situation. Highest probability shot location. He got stopped by the lowest probability save. So it's like, I don't look at a player like that and say, fuck him, trade him. I see a player that had a lot of bad luck.
Yeah, I just don't know. We'll have to wait and see, we'll just have to see how it play, because it could go either way. He could continue being the same guy, and then I just hope not. But I think this season, the pressure's off for the most part on the team. I think Rod needs to put him at the 2C spot and let him figure it out. Don't bury him on the 4th line if he has 3 bad games. He's just going to have to roll with him, because, you're going to have to let him work through his issues, and give him his ice time. Keep him on the power play. Give him every opportunity to figure it out. Yes. And I think he will, just like you mentioned Lafreniere for New York, breakout year after people were claiming that he was a bust.
Yeah, he'd been completely written off.
Yeah.
It's like, and then another thing that a lot of people forget when it comes to KK, he was drafted significantly higher than anyone expected him to be. Everyone thought that Philip Zadina was going to be 3rd overall. And we know how Zadina's career has unfortunately gone thus far, which I hope he continues to improve a little bit. KK got drafted significantly higher, and he got put in a pressure cooker situation in Montreal. and they messed up his development a lot. And like I love referencing this episode because it was one of my favorite ones with UNAB with Shane Willis on your show.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, this kid's a good hockey player, but he's got all these weird little things that he's not doing right that can only be attributed to his development being messed up. It's not entirely on him. So that was when I heard Shane Willis say that, I was like, that makes total and complete sense. So I think that if he does, KK's issues are not gigantic. They're a bunch of small things that are throwing off his game. And one of the things I noticed last year, when he started playing really well was after he got into that, or year before last, I should say, when he got into that fight with Alexei Torpachenko, he went on a fucking tear after that. It was like, and he fucked him up. Like, that was a great fight. So I think that once he brings that physical element back to his game, everything else will fall into place. It's not too dissimilar from Svechnikov in a lot of ways, I think. Yeah. And we will get to the Svechnikov comments in here and everything because we've got a lot to discuss with him. But yeah, Dylan, I definitely think KK has put on some muscle. I think that I really think KK is going to bounce back. I think that there's a potential for a 60-point player there. He's just got 2 or 3 little nuanced things he's got to fix with his game, and he will be who we were hoping for that we signed.
I don't need him to be that this year. I just need him to show a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I need to see.
Yeah, I would like to see him be 60 points because I've always been a big KK believer, and I want to be proven right on that so badly because people are like, who are you going to get on your Stadium Series sweater? Aho, Slave. And I'm like, no, I'm getting KK on it because he had such a great game that night. Because I remember when he scored the first goal in the Stadium Series game, I turned around. I'm like, yeah, that's my boy right there because he wasn't on my sweater yet. But I was like, and then I felt like an idiot for this. At Game 5 against the Devils in 23, I was there. And the first goal that Slavin scored, KK set up in front of the net. And from where I was sitting, because I sat like right across from where UNAB sit on the other side of the arena. And I thought, my bad. Or I thought for sure that KK tipped that puck in. So I took my sweater off. I had my Stadium Series KK one on, and I'm like waving it around everyone pointing. I'm like, yeah, y'all said he was a bust, right? And he's going to be fine. I really do think that. Papa Griff also says, what do you see happening with Necas now? I personally think that Carolina will sign him to a 2-year deal, roughly in the $6.5 million range, and then we will figure out what to do with him from there.
Yeah, there was a who put it out? I think it was NHL.com put out an article 3 days ago. It was an interview with Eric Tulsky. And he talked about Necas and Jarvis both and said that they were in talks with Necas or with his agent. Everything has been discussed from anywhere from 1 year to 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's on the table right now. But here's the thing with Necas. If you're still going to trade Martin Necas post July 1st, the thing about it is he's got to be signed to a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that deal has to be worth a substantial amount of money for him to sign it, right? To accept a trade somewhere that, because nobody's going to trade for him if they know they can't sign it, or unless they know they can sign it.
Mm-hmm.
So that means somebody's got to have the money to sign
mm-hmm.
it. And there's not a lot of money out there, right? Everybody has pretty much spent up the majority of their cap space. So we are kind of the only team left with some money. I mean, I'm sure somebody's out there with a little bit, but
mm-hmm.
We know he wouldn't sign with Winnipeg. He wouldn't sign with Columbus. He wouldn't sign with Buffalo, right? Those are the rumors.
He doesn't hate it here that bad then.
Huh?
He doesn't hate it here that bad then.
Right. So if you're not going to do that, the teams that have money remaining are teams like that.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you who all's got how much money remaining right now because I just pulled it up on Puckpedia because I was curious.
Perfect.
The Ducks have $21.72 million. They're not doing anything in terms of playoffs this season. The Flames 20.82, the Red Wings 17.65, the Blue Jackets 17.15. Those are the first 2 teams I look at on this list and say, hey, they might make the playoffs. San Jose 14.65, They're not
Yeah.
making the playoffs more than likely. The Sabres have 14.55. They might make the playoffs. I hope they don't because I hate them and I think they suck. And then next after that, the Carolina Hurricanes have 13.86 million.
Right. So not a lot of money left.
Yeah. And out of all the teams on this list in the projected space, we have the most and also the most competitive out of those however many teams I just listed.
Yeah, his unwillingness to sign with those three teams that we mentioned. Well, I mean, Winnipeg's a decent team, but you know, Buffalo and Columbus. If he's unwilling to sign with them, then he's definitely not going to Anaheim. He's definitely not going to San Jose. He's definitely not going to Calgary. I don't think nobody wants to go to Calgary anyway. So I mean, I don't. He wants to win. He wants to compete. He wants to be on a competitive team. That's obvious. So maybe he's decided to, run it back.
Yeah.
And I think the team would love to have him. I don't think the issue was ever with the team. So I think Necas is going to be on the ride here. I think he's going to I think both of these contracts are going to get taken care of this week. And yeah, I expect him to be here. I don't expect either, I don't expect KK. Jeez. Necas to go to arbitration. So
especially thanks to Kuznetsov. That saved us a lot of trouble.
Yeah. And you want a bold prediction here?
Go for it.
I think we signed Necas to an extended contract.
Like an 8-year type of deal?
Maybe not 8.
6.
5, 6. Can we sign him to 8 at this? Yeah, we can. No, can we sign him to 8 at this point?
Yeah, we can sign him to 8
because he's an RFA.
Yes.
So I don't know if it'll be 8, but I think it'll be more than 4. Just a little hot take.
That's not out of the realm of possibility. No, I don't really think that's a hot take because this guy's an incredibly talented player. It's like the only thing we have to do with Necas in terms of signing him, it's not really the term that I would worry about. It's the cap hit.
Right.
And if there's any trade protection of any kind. Necas is a very talented player that will always draw the ire of the trade market, regardless of what his status is with Carolina, as we saw over the summer. So I think that as long as it's a reasonable cap hit and there's not any difficulty moving him if we really, really, truly wanted to. And I think that the organization and him must have a pretty good relationship if they tried to do several sign and trades and didn't just say, fuck it, we'll take less just to trade you.
Right.
It must have been never that bad of a relationship. And it's the same thing that I point out with Jake DeBrusk. It was highly publicized with Boston. He wanted out of there and he never got traded and he left on good terms. I think that we're in a similar situation with Necas in a lot of ways because he's not really demanding to get out of there. And one of the things that I tell a lot of people when they read a lot of these foreign articles, when they get translated, sometimes they don't come across perfectly. There are certain, whether you're using Google Translate or whatever, like the one from Czechia where his dad said what he said about him wanting to get traded, that might not have been what he actually said. It might have literally got lost in translation. So
it could have.
That's why I don't take those things into too much account.
I just don't. I mean, we haven't heard that from Necas, from his mouth.
Right.
Every public interview or whatever, he's never said anything about wanting to leave Carolina. I mean, not that he's going to go on a public interview and be like, "Oh, I need to get out of here." But I mean, there just hasn't been that tone at all. And then we see pictures from the offseason. He's out in Czechia skating with David Pastrnak and Jaromir Jagr. And he's wearing his cane
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I would I'm not super worried about that. I'm really not.
I mean, Pasta wasn't wearing his Bruin stuff. He was wearing some other random jersey. And
I can't remember the name of it. That was the Czech team I believe he played for.
Was it?
Yeah, because if Necas was really that much against it, he'd probably be wearing his Sparta Prague stuff or something like that. He would be doing something different. So, it's I never really thought that they're professionals. They can mend the fence. He was probably pissed off when the season was over, like the entire locker room was. A lot of people made a big deal about him running off to play in the World Hockey Championship. And I'm like, he's not the first guy that's done that.
All it takes is a phone call from Rod Brindamore to be like, "Hey, look, let's talk about this.
Yes.
That's all it takes. And who's to say that that hasn't happened? I mean, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all we hear, everybody knew that there was a trade, you know, they were shopping him or whatever, and that's been the narrative ever since. So I don't know. I don't think the relationship's as bad as it's been made out to be. I think Carolina was going to say, hey, you know, we respect you enough. If if you'd like to go start somewhere else, we will try to facilitate that.
Yes.
You know,
And
if it doesn't work, though, go ahead.
I'm sorry. If they could mend the fence after the Aho offer sheet thing, even though he directly had nothing to do with that, that was 100% on his agent. That's why he changed agents. If that fence can be mended, albeit it wasn't Aho's fault, then knock it off. If that fence can be mended, the one with Necas can be mended. I'm wholeheartedly believing that and everything. So we'll go on to.
Oh, sorry.
Go
Last
ahead.
thing. He's got, him and Fetch are like best friends.
Yeah.
And so I just can't see him leaving. But
if we can get
you never know.
KK to bounce back and bring that line back, I really like that line. The one with KK, Fetch, and Necas. I love that line.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Papa Griff also says, do you feel that they should bring TDA back? I'm a TDA fan myself. I'm a very big Tony DeAngelo fan. He's on my alternate sweater, but unfortunately, I don't see any reason nor capacity to bring him back. Now, that being said, I've always said that if there was one guy I think that you could just randomly pluck from the defensive group and have him play forward and him produce, it's Tony. I really think that if you threw him on the wing, he wouldn't play any different. The only thing that would be different is where he starts on faceoffs. That's it. He would be the exact same player, and he would probably produce more, and you wouldn't have to worry about some of his defensive miscues. And you would only have to pay him like $1 million, and you could have him quarterback the power play and be your seventh defenseman. If somebody gets hurt, you can throw him back there because he's more qualified to do it than most. That's the only way that I could remotely see bringing him back. With the frugality that this front office likes to practice, I could totally see them doing something like that, but I don't think they will.
No, I think we've seen the last of Tony and Raleigh.
For now. And he's going to pull a Joe Corvo. He even wears the same number. He's going to be back a third time. I see that happening. History's going to repeat itself.
I don't know. I just don't see a spot for him. I don't think he wants to be the seventh defenseman. Last year when he came back, everybody was under the assumption that Pesce was going to get traded. So he thought he was going to have a larger role. And then he also thought that he was good enough to, overtake Jalen Chatfield. That didn't happen.
Right.
And rightfully so. I mean, Jalen Chatfield he's had 2 great years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think Tony wants to be the 7th guy.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to play. And so what I see happening is him signing a professional tryout with somebody and going to camp and trying to earn his way onto a roster that is not as talented on the blue line.
Yeah.
So that's what I see happening. If he, but you never know. If he goes to a PTO somewhere and it doesn't work out and he doesn't get signed, you never know. Maybe he calls and says, hey, look, I'm not doing anything else. I don't want to go play in the KHL or wherever else, in Europe or whatever. So let me
Tony
just
being as vocal.
Huh?
Tony being as vocal as he is, I can't see him going overseas to play. He loves America too much. I don't see him going overseas to play. It's just, and then and Tony, as much as I love the guy, I can also here's where me and a lot of the Tony DeAngelo haters are completely different. I can point out the things that he does correctly and the things that he does incorrectly, as can Griff. That's why I've said Tony is the one guy that I would say all those times that we went 11-7, one of the big mistakes I always thought was never trying him in the forward group. That would have been the perfect time to do it, and they never did it, and it annoyed the hell out of me. That's why it's like if you brought him back and said, hey, you're going to play wing this time, I think he'd figure it out pretty quick. It's not the most conventional way of doing things, but I think we're entering an era where we're going to have guys get drafted as a defenseman or as a forward and end up changing positions more because Tony's a very talented player in terms of his skating ability, his puck distribution, all that type of stuff. But he fits a very, very specific role. That's why you saw him flourish when he was with Slavin. So he is legit. He's a fourth forward. That's what he is. So in the event that something happened to Burns, I guarantee you they'd call Tony and be like, please come back. like immediately, and they already know where they'd put him. So
Well, either that or they'd call Scott Morrow up from the AHL.
yeah, but I think they want Morrow to get the heavy minutes in the AHL first.
That's
I
true.
really do.
True.
That's why it's like they'd be like, hey, Tony, here's a 1-year deal. Go to the Right of Slavin and do what you did in 22 again. So I like Tony. I like Tony a lot. I don't see any purpose or capability of bringing him back. I really don't, unfortunately. I hope his career pans out elsewhere. I think he's a very good, underrated player. I really do. It's just here. I just don't think he fits now with who we signed.
Yep.
Papa Griff also says 2019. I can see that. Yeah, that's what I think that this season's going to be like. I really do. Maybe a better team than what we had then, though. Which prospects is him in, if any, do you see making the team after preseason camp? I have adamantly said before, Bradley Nadeau and Felix Ungersorm are the two that I think are going to make it. Griff, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Jackson Blake could be a long shot to kind of sneak up and do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think depending on Fost status, I think we could see one.
Mm-hmm.
If Fost is gone for an extended period of time, I think you could see two.
Mm-hmm.
But I think kind of the order here is Nadeau, Ungersorum, and Blake, or it could be Nadeau, Blake, and then Ungersorum. It could be any, but I think Blake's number one. Or I'm sorry, Nadeau's number one, and I think we're going to see him on the roster come opening night.
I agree. And the other big thing with Felix Ungersorm, he's basically a 1-for-1 replacement of Tara Vinen. He has to do a little bit of work on the defensive side of his game before he's actually completely that type of player. But as far as the playmaking and everything like that, he's very similar to Tara Vinen. BG, thank you again for that. Papa Grip also says, I think Svech steps up big this season. I agree. Biggest thing with Svechnikov.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Biggest thing with Svechnikov, he was rehabbing his ACL all last summer. He didn't train to play. Right now he's training to play. So I think that we're going to see a really, really good season out of Andrei Svechnikov. I'm hoping he can finally hit that 30 goal criteria. That's the biggest thing I want. Svechnikov was drafted to put the puck in the net, and we need him to start doing that more. Everything else I'm fine with. The physicality is good. The playmaking is good. The high effort plays that he's making down below the goal line to dig pucks out, really good. He needs to start putting it in the net. Let's see. Do you have anything else on that one, Griff?
Oh, no. I mean, you just said he's training to play, and he just did play yesterday. We'll talk about that, I guess, later.
Oh, yes. No, I've got that in here. Don't worry, because that was really cool. I didn't get to see all of it because I had to go to work, but I got to watch the first period, and that's why I wrote the thing about, is the NHL team even trying?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Will Parks, welcome back, bud. Am I the only one who isn't freaked out over the season to come? I like the roster. Call my baby ugly. It's got potential. I'm not freaked out about it at all.
No,
this is an enjoy the ride situation.
No expectations. I'm excited. Last year, I was on the edge of my seat for every flipping game, just because they were that big. But this year, no expectations. Let's just go have fun. Let's win some games. Let's make the playoffs. And you never know. You never know.
You have a lot of young, exciting prospects that you're going to enjoy watching, and the best one isn't even over here yet.
Absolutely.
Now, the other thing we need to keep our fingers crossed for, even though I don't think that he would play immediately anyway, if SKA St. Petersburg has a bad enough season, they might let Nikishin out early.
Yeah.
And, they were saying, we don't have the cap space to sign Kuznetsov. And I was like, well, there's one guy you could let go that's already got somewhere to play, and that wouldn't be a problem for you anymore, but I understand why they don't want to. BG says, been a minute, fellas. Happy to be back and help. Hope y'all are well. Yes, we're doing good, buddy. I'm glad to hear from you too. So I wanted us to get on here and do something else because like X and everything else has been hard to be on lately. Steve Rushton says the Canes' only chance at a legit 2C this year is KK turning his career around, and I think he will. I really do.
Hope so.
Damn, we got a lot of comments here today. Dylan Bollinger, hey, you look different than your last profile picture. I noticed people here lately keep saying Bradley Nadeau, but a lot of people were saying Felix Hungerstorm also earlier. That's the two big ones right now that I think everyone's keeping their eyes on.
Here's the thing about these two, right? Nadeau and Hungerstorm. Nadeau plays the left side, left wing, and there's a bit more roster availability than there is on the right side, which is where Unger Sorum typically plays, right? So if you look at the right side, I mean, naturally it would be Jarvis, Necas, Fost plays the right if he's healthy, and that's why I say I think it depends on Jesper Fost's status on how many rookies that play on this roster. Who else plays the right? I believe Roslovic plays the right side. Martinook can play the right side. But then you look on the left, you've got William Carrier, you've got Svechnikov, who plays the left, and he'll probably play up. Then really, I mean, Martinook plays the left, but then kind of you look at that second line. If you assume Andrei Svechnikov is going to play left wing on the first line with Aho, you look at that second line and okay, who's going to play that position? I mean, you could put Martinook there. They've done that before. You could put, I mean, who knows? We've seen Nason there in seasons past. But if you look at that, I mean, that could be a spot for Bradley Nadeau, and then you could keep your bottom six grinders kind of the same. And I think that if you're going to put a rookie on this roster like Bradley Nadeau, who can, put the puck in the net, I think that you need to put him in position to succeed. And just by that, I mean, don't bury him on the third or fourth line playing 14 minutes a night. If you're going to do that, you might as well send him to Chicago and play top line minutes, and get the experience. If you're going to play him in Raleigh, set him up to succeed, kind of like they did with Seth Jarvis in his rookie year.
That is a perfect example.
Yes. And I know, Adam Gold, who I respect a lot, and, he comes on our show all the time and talks hockey, and I love it. Listen to him. He doesn't agree. He thinks that if Bradley Nadeau makes this roster, he's going to be playing third or fourth line. And I just don't agree. I don't either. I think Rod is going to put him in position to succeed. And I agree with that. He needs to be playing that second line. Or, I mean, if you want to put him with Aho, well, I don't know if I agree with that, because then you've got Aho, Jarvis, and Nadeau. That's a small line. But if you put him with KK and Necas, I think it makes sense.
See, like when it comes to the size, though, Jarvis is one of those guys that I don't really worry about how small he is, just because he plays a lot bigger than he actually is.
But that was a concern last year for Brendan Moore. That's why
he broke up Aho and Jarvis in the playoffs.
And Gensel.
Yeah, see, I personally didn't agree with that decision. Okay, against the Islanders, and we actually talked about this before. Against the Islanders, okay, it made sense. Big physical team, all they do is hit people. Whereas against the Rangers, though, it's like, okay, who do they have that's physical? Rimpe, who I don't think played against us. Keandre Miller, Jacob Trouba. That's it. Like, as far as like super fit, Barclay Goodrow, that's all the physical players they have. That's why it's like, especially at home, I felt like they should have left Aho and Jarvis together because of how well that line worked. Maybe Jarvis's injuries were a factor in that. But Bradley Nadeau, and I get what Adam Gold is saying, but Bradley Nadeau is one of those players that he is drafted to be a top six forward. Like you're saying, if you don't think he's ready, let him play top six forward minutes in the minors. Let him start getting used to that. If you think he's ready, you need to put him in the role that he is projected to play in long term, or you will stunt his development.
Absolutely.
So you are 110% right about that. So it's like, here's the thing. Brendan Moore, the way that you know that he trusts you a whole lot is if you're on his penalty kill. Bradley Nadeau's not a penalty killer. He's not going to have the biggest minutes 5-on-5. If the game is on the line and we need a goal, he will be out there. If the game is on the line and we need to prevent a goal, he will not be out there. He's not going to be on the penalty kill. He will be on the power play probably, though. I definitely see him. He'll start on the second unit, and I don't think he'll be there for long. Not with that cannon that he has. It'll be like, hey, this is where you need to set up at. This is what you need to do. 10 to 15 games later, I can see him being on the first unit. So they need to front load the units right now until we figure out what we have with all these guys.
I think that would be a great line. KK, centering Nadeau and Necas.
I could go for that.
And KK is defensively responsible.
Yes.
I think it works.
I do too. I really like that one. Speaking of KK, we have another comment from Will Parks here saying KK breakout year, shot release is elite. I could see it happening. Fresh year, needs to fire everything at the net and get the swag back. That's the thing. If KK just has a few good games with production, you're going to see him be the player that we thought we were signing. So the only reason I won't even say I advocated for it. I never advocated for trading KK. I always said, like, if you're going to do it, you need to do it now. And it's a team like San Jose that you're going to send him to that won't make him worse, even if he continues to play not up to what he's capable of. Kuznetsov did us a favor by going to SKA St. Petersburg. He did Washington a favor as well, opened up $4 million in cap space for both of us. I think that Jesperi Kotkaniemi, he's going to finally really, really fit into that role. And I really think that the kid's going to bounce back. I mean, I don't really have much of another way to put it until I do the deep dive with the numbers and everything like that about why I really think he's going to bounce back. It's just every player has a career or has a bad year in their career like KK had. Eventually, at some point over the next 8 years, you're going to see Aho only score 75 points and play all 82 games or something along those lines, and everyone's going to panic. It's only a matter of time until that happens to him. It happens to everybody. Everyone has down seasons. He just had a really bad one.
Yeah, and look at, right here on our roster, Martin Necas. There was not last season, the season before, but 3 seasons ago.
Abysmal. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was like trying to buy him a plane ticket to Arizona.
Yes.
Like quick, fast, in a hurry. And then he came back and led the team in points the next season. So it could happen.
Yeah. And like Brendan Moore said on the ONG show that you sent us in the group chat, a lot of these guys that were not filling big roles before, they're going to have to fill bigger ones now. Slavin's going to have to eat up 24 minutes of ice time a night. He wasn't doing that before, but now he's going to have to. So, and the good thing about it is our best players are going to spend more time on the ice. That's a good thing in a lot of ways. So This is one of those times where it's like, okay, you got to step up into that role. Eric Heinke, welcome back. This is one of my original subscribers, actually, from like when I first started the channel. KK needs to be a 50 to 60 points player. He needs to have a great year this year. I agree. And we all think that he's going to. We really do. I don't know if he'll get 50 or 60. I'm hoping for 60 because I just want to be able to say that I was right. J-Dub, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. An article I read shortly after his dad's comment, Nate just shot that down. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes those things translate kind of weird, and they're taken completely out of context. It's not that. That's why I was kind of like about that one, and I was also about the other one where he said like one of them said basically like, yeah, I was looking forward to the playoffs being over so I could go play for the Czech Republic in the World Hockey Championship. Nobody fucking says that.
Well, he might have shot it down but there was some truth to it because they tried to trade him.
Yeah.
They tried. For what we know, they still may be trying.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some truth to it. There had to be. I don't know. Especially, because they didn't stop trying to trade him after Jake Gensel left.
Correct. They were still looking at maybe making a deal.
Right.
I just think that they were like at the point of like, let's make a decision what we're going to do with the guy and making sure they had multiple avenues to do it with. And we never really know what goes on behind the scenes. I really think that like you said before on the episode where I was in the penalty box, you don't have to trade Martin Necas. He doesn't make you worse. Another very intuitive thing that you said, he does not make you worse, and he totally does not. Let's see. Papa Griff also says, I'm a fan of your dog now, Brandon. Yeah, he's an animal. Now he's just laying over there relaxing. That's what he does. He has a few minutes where he's like, I'm a 6 months old puppy again. And then now he's laying over there looking like a little rug. Eric Heinke says, with the D, which prospects will make the team in 25-26 season Hurricanes roster? On the defense, I don't think there's any of them going to make it, and it's not a lack of merit. Morrow needs to play big minutes, and he will not get those at the NHL level. He needs to go to Chicago.
He said 25-26.
Oh, 25-26. My bad. Shit, sorry. I'm stupid. Morrow will more than likely make the team. And as far as the other defensive prospects, I don't really, well, Nikishin, obviously. That's the two that I think will make it. That's what I like about the way the Hurricanes have the depth chart constructed. You're looking at 2 new players coming in, 1 to 2 new players coming in every season for the next few years. I think after that, this is a long way after that. I think in a few years you could see Charles Alexis Legault make the team because, right-handed shutdown guy with a big shot. I could see him making the team in a few seasons if Chatfield doesn't stay, but I think Chatfield's going to play for the Hurricanes for the rest of his career because he loves to play with Slavin.
Yeah.
So they have become like family. So I think that Chatfield will be here for the long haul, but in terms of which ones I think we will see mainstays on the roster, Morrow, Nikishin, and then down the road, I could see Charles Alexis Legault.
And they plug right in, right? So
Yes.
You've got Brent Burns coming off the roster, and then you've got Dmitry Orlov coming off the roster, assuming they don't re-sign, which you never know. I don't think Brent Burns will, but you never know. Orlov might want to hang around. I don't know. But yeah, you plug Nikishin right there where Orlov's, he's a left shot guy. So, or left-handed guy. So he slots right there on the left side where Orlov's at. And Scott Morrow is a right side guy with a shot. Will probably play with Slavin. That's just my opinion. Some people think that they'll put Slavin and Nikishin together, which I don't think will happen just because Rod doesn't like to play his defenseman on the offside. So I believe it'll be Slavin, Morrow, Nikishin, whoever that is, either could be Walker, could be Chatfield. I mean, we don't know.
As far as Nikishin goes, as far as playing on his offside, so if you ever watched him play like in the Olympics or in the KHL when they have him on his offside, he's completely capable of it, and he actually kind of excels there. So does Orlov. But if an exception is going to be made in terms of having a left-handed defenseman on the right side, that exception will be made for Nikishin.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't think it's going to happen. The way Carolina, and a large part of Carolina's success is because of this. The way Carolina builds their defense, they don't like having a 1, 2, and 3 pair. They like having even distribution throughout the lineup, and part of that comes from having your left-handed guys and your right-handed guys divided equally. So I don't think Nikishin and Slavin will be on the same pair. It's not totally out of the realm of possibilities. I personally do not see it happening.
No, I don't either.
Let's see. BG says, zero pressure with a chip on shoulder can make some exciting seasons. Some of y'all need to step away from the ledge. Yeah, there's a lot of people panicking about it, dude. That's part of the reason why me and Griff and AB and the guys, the Sams over at Caniac Report, part of the reason that we exist is because we don't constantly sound the alarm on things. We take the time to think about, like, okay, is this good for the team, long-term, short-term, whatever? Whereas a lot of people, they have emotional attachments to players and they hate to see them go, and they think that it's the end of the world. They think that Brett Pesce is irreplaceable, that Brady Shea is irreplaceable, and truth be told, neither one of them are. But I also listen to people for years talk about we invest too much of our cap in our defense. Well, now we're not.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm attached to players too. Like, I get attached. Like, I hated to see Steph Nason leave.
Me too.
I freaking love that guy, man.
Yeah,
but
I love how he played.
Like, out of all of them, that's the one that hurt me. I mean, I like Pesce and Shea too. Don't get me wrong, but man, there's something about Steph Nason that just resonated with me, and like he was the one that hurt the most. And if Martinook would have left, though, I'm one of the Martinook guys that just.
I'm a big Martinook guy myself.
I love Jordan Martinook. I just like that kind of player.
Yes.
That's just the way I am.
Well, see, that's the other thing when it comes to when I say people get attached to players, like I hated to see Brett Pesce go because he is my archetype as a player. Like, that's what I do. I'm a right-handed shutdown defenseman. So I've always liked him.
Yeah.
And I hated to see him go, but it's like those of us on this channel and their podcasts over at Caniac Sessions, Caniac Report, we look at things relatively or very objectively, and we look at it relative to where we're at in terms of the franchise and everything. It was not an advantageous thing to bring Brett Pesce back for the cap hit that the New Jersey Devils just paid him. It was not good for us in the long run to do that. And I think New Jersey, they're going to get some short-term gains out of that. Later, it's going to hurt. I really think that. And I hate to say that about Brett Pesce, but he's not playing as physical of a game as he once did because I think the injuries are piling up on him. So, it's like I hated to see Steph Nason go as well. But people like they get to where they really, really like a player and they think that they're in a lot of cases irreplaceable and that there's no way to replicate their production, their defense, whatever. I saw a lot of people freak out about Brady Shea being gone. And I'm like, but we just got a guy who's got a higher shots through percentage and is a little bit better of a playmaker than Brady Shea is in that of Gostisbehere that we already know that fits. There's no variables when it comes to Gostisbehere. Hey. We know that there's no variables when it comes to Gostisbehere because he's already been here before and we know how well he plays and everything like that. So I think
I'm pumped about Gostisbehere being back.
Me too. I was so I didn't know he was coming back. I was so happy about it. And I didn't know Sean Walker was even on our radar. Okay, so here's one thing I'll say real quick. Two players that a lot of people are really, really, really sleeping on right now on this team. William Carrier and Sean Walker. William Carrier,
absolutely.
If you like Steph Nason, you will like William Carrier. He is almost the exact same player. So I can tell you that all. William Carrier is one of those unsung hero type of like gritty forechecking type of players who plays a really solid defensive game, very physical, works in tight around the net, and scores you a bunch of greasy goals. If you like Steph Nason, you're going to like William Carrier.
Yeah, and Sean Walker he's kind of, I mean, he's old. He's not old, but he's in his late 20s, and he's kind of up and coming. I mean, he's just now hitting his stride, in his career, I guess his prime, I guess you could say. And he has had a couple really, really good seasons as of late. And he had a good playoffs with Colorado last year.
And you know who bloomed kind of late that we've really benefited from? Jalen Chatfield. It will be for different reasons with Sean Walker, because Sean Walker is more of a depth offensive defenseman. He's a good bottom four offensive defenseman is the way I look at it. But a lot of people are really, really sleeping on Sean Walker. I really think that. But yeah, so it's like I hated to see Tony DeAngelo go, but I'm not going to sit here and say that he's still a good fit on the team and that we still need him. We don't. It's just unfortunate fact of the matter. So it's like I hated to see the guy go, but I understand the reasoning behind it. It's just a lot of people, like, when they really, really like a player, they can't imagine the team without them. And
yeah,
it sucks to see your favorite players go.
I get caught up in that all the time.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. Coconut Kyle, what's up, buddy? Afternoon, gentlemen. Hope everyone is doing well. Where are you at if it's afternoon? I'm just, but thank you for the greetings and salutations nonetheless. But I was like, I'm used to most of our I've noticed the metrics of the channel. We have a lot of Finnish and Russian people who watch this, which is really cool. And
I get a lot from.
Go ahead. Coconut Kyle's little icon there, his little whatever it's called. My girlfriend actually introduced me to that show, Squidbillies. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, he said Hawaii. He's in Hawaii.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Yeah, then it is afternoon where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, we get a lot from Australia. I've gotten some. We've got listeners in Finland, Sweden, where else? Australia, Germany. Had somebody in Hong Kong downloading the other day. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, that's cool. Let's see. Dylan Bollinger says that photo was my 21st birthday. This one is my Andrei Svechnikov at the age of 33. Oh, same age I am. That's cool. And Dylan also says, let's say Felix and Brady both make the roster. Where are you placing them? Yeah, we already kind of talked about that, but I think both of them need to be put in position to do top six type of things. It's I definitely think you don't need to bury them in the bottom six. Maybe for the first few games until they adjust to the pace. But as far as in the grand scheme of the entire season, let them guys get top 6 minutes.
I'd almost be if Unger Soren makes the roster, I'd almost be okay. I mean, you don't want to put him. I hate to say to put him. You could bump Jarvis down and put him up with Aho, but give him a couple looks. Maybe I wouldn't put him on first line, but it would take. I don't think Unger Soren's going to make the roster unless somebody is not starting the season, like Jesper Fast, just because he's right side. So.
Travis C, what's up, buddy? Another one of my original subscribers. What's up, man? Good to see you. It's good to see you too, bud. Coconut Kyle also says, agree with you about KK here. Don't have a good reason. Just gut, but we should hold on to him. When I make the video I want to make about KK, I will point out what I think from a scientific and numerical standpoint as to why I think KK is going to be significantly better this season. Papa Griff also says, one of the big points with Necas was ice time with the moves the Canes have made. Should should allow for that. Wouldn't you think? He's going to have to play more.
Well, look, he was third on the team in ice time at 5-on-5 last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think behind Aho and Jarvis.
Yes.
Or I believe that's what it was.
I think so.
But look, this year he's going to look. Teravainen's gone. Steph Nason's gone. Well, Steph Nason didn't kill penalties, but I fully expect Martin Necas to kill penalties this season. If you remember 2 seasons ago, he was killing penalties until Seth Jarvis kind of snatched that spot from him.
Mm-hmm.
So Martin Necas this season is going to have to play in all situations. He's going to have to play, obviously 5-on-5. He's going to have to play the power play because he should. And he's going to kill penalties. And he's a decent penalty killer. His skating ability, his speed, that's all needs to kill penalties. So I think that's going to increase his ice time in and of itself.
Yeah, no, a lot of the core guys that weren't playing as many minutes before because of all the departures we had are going to have to play more.
Yeah.
And then not to mention, I'm really excited to see, I think the power play, because we've had some inconsistencies on the power play over the years. I think with the guys that we're bringing up, it's going to get better. I really do. So, it's like, imagine we saw a little bit of this in whatever game it was when we played against Columbus near the end of the season. You saw a power play that had Scott Morrow, Jackson Blake, Scott Morrow, Jackson Blake, and Bradley Nadeau on it. That was a little bit of a glimpse of the future. And I thought those guys cycled the puck really well. I thought that they put shots on net at the right time. And I feel like they really, really, really have something to build on there. And we saw a little bit of what we're going to see later down the road. So I'm really excited about that personally. I really do. But Necas is definitely going to get more minutes. And guys who already get a ton of minutes, Aho, Svechnikov, Slavin, so on and so forth, they're about to get more.
Yep.
So that's if Necas was worried about not getting ice time, he ain't gonna be worried about that next season. He'll have plenty. I think
it's more about playing center for him.
Yeah, and I know that we've discussed that extensively. What we both think on that. Now, we'll see if that ever gets tried. I don't think it will. I don't think he'll ever get a shot there. I really don't. But we will see.
Unless that's an agreement in place for him to sign a contract, just to say, hey, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, that's why I said 10 games. You'll know. Hell, it probably won't take 10 games for you to know if it's going to work or not. But that's why
we'll see in the preseason.
Games.
We'll see in the preseason. They put in there in the preseason, and then they're going to give it a shot.
Yeah, that would be a good sign that that's going to happen. Dylan also says, yeah, I was very upset about Nino leaving, especially when I just bought his jersey that same year. Yeah, and see, the thing is, I wanted to get a Nino one because I collect as many as I can with number 21 on it. I'm still looking for Drayson Bowman, actually. I know, name that nobody's heard in a while. I wanted to get a Nino one, and I just never got around to it. And then I got a step on one, and, people were, making fun of me for it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Papa Griff says, love Martinook. Yes, Jordan Martinook is – people look at Jordan Martinook and all they see is a depth player. Jordan Martinook is so much more than that. If you take one of the first trades that Don Waddell – no, it was the first trade that Don Waddell ever made as the general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes was to acquire Jordan Martinook for Marcus Kruger. I was not a Marcus Kruger fan at all. This guy was supposed to be a penalty killing specialist, and he got scored on all the damn time. Whereas you brought in someone who was faster, had a little bit more of an offensive upside, a little bit better 5-on-5 than Marcus Kruger, and you got him 1-for-1. If you take Jordan Martinook out of the equation of this team over the last few years, they are not nearly as successful as they are now.
No, he's a leader. He's a leader.
Yes.
He's a locker room guy. He's an energy guy. He can play anywhere in your lineup. He's got a scoring touch. When he gets hot, he's hot. He can forecheck with the best of them. He's physical. Every team needs a guy like Jordan Martinook.
Yes, and he's a perfect fit for the way Brendan Moore likes people to play.
Yes.
And one of the reasons it's and this is something I want to make a video on eventually myself, Jordan Martinook is one of those players, you saw him go off in the series against the Devils, which was probably the best stretch of games we ever saw him play. But you know what's funny about it is that is absolutely no different than what we ever see out of Jordan Martinook. It's just that time you got the production out of him. Yeah, the puck went in the net. You had the exact same player, the exact the exact same way. Because when you have someone like Jordan Martinook, like me being a defenseman, I can tell you I hate playing against guys like Jordan Martinook. I mean, I never played in the NHL or anything, obviously, but playing against those super heavy forechecking guys gets fucking annoying because they constantly they just keep coming and they just keep chipping away at you, and they wear you out. And then next thing you know, you can't make a zone exit, you can't make a good pass because the guy's in your face before you even have a thought of what you're doing. And that's why he started producing so much in the playoffs. He picked apart their defense through forechecking. It may not be thought of as the most high skill way of putting the puck in the net, but they ask how, not how many. So
absolutely,
it gets really fucking annoying against playing against a guy like Jordan Martinook because he picks your defense apart because he will never leave you alone. Every second he's on the ice, he is causing you problems.
Yeah.
Jack Weldy, welcome back. He says, what would the Seth Jarvis contract look like in your opinion? So there's been some reporting on that it's north of $8 million, but it's also, if that's the case, it's probably 8 years. I'm totally fine with it being a little north of $8 million if we lock him up for 8 years.
Per Adam Gold, and Adam Gold got this information from his sources with the team. So this is coming straight from the horse's mouth by way of Adam Gold. They have discussed 8 years. They've also discussed a bridge deal. The cap hit or the average annual value of this will be, it's looking like right now it's north of 8. And it's from what Adam Gold has reported is that, that gap, right, from where the Jarvis camp is and where the team is, that Carolina has actually made more movement up toward Jarvis's number than the Jarvis camp has come down to the team's number. So the team is really trying to get this done, but right now the number is north of 8. That's what we've been told, north of 8, whatever that means. But anything less than 8.25 is a win to me. And I mean, honestly, even 8.5. I think 8 by 8.5 for Jarvis. I mean, he's 22 years old. He's going to be here for the rest of his career. The cap is going up. There's no reason not to do it. You've got the money to do it. So it's going to be somewhere between. It'll be somewhere between in 7.75, right? 7.75 million to 9, anywhere in between that. 8 years. But it'll probably be somewhere between 8 and 8.5.
We have an intruder.
Oh, do we? Oh, look
hey,
who
buddy.
it is.
Hello there.
Hey, how you doing, pal?
Doing well.
Oh, good to see you. We're just sitting here talking about what we think Seth Jarvis's contract extension is going to look like. So basically, what we're doing is we're doing Q&A stuff with the guys in the chat here. And so far, out of the topics that we said we were going to cover on the post, we have covered Foss being spotted without the neck brace a little bit, how KK can bounce back, Jarvis and Necas contracts, basically what we're talking about right now. So then after we get through the comments here, our last big topic will be the stuff that went on at the NHL and KHL All-Star game and a little bit of Necas talk along with that. What do you think in regards to Jarvis's contract and the reporting that it'll be north of $8 million for 8 years?
I'm actually happy that the management is willing to go that far because this is a valuable player. And knowing that this player in his exit interview was hurt most of the season while still putting up these points, just that contract can age very well for the Hurricanes.
I absolutely agree.
He's going to hit 40 goals multiple times before his career's over.
I think so too. So. That cannon of a shot he has, it's I can definitely see him doing that. Let's see. BG says, and Carrier is cheaper and locked up. Love Steph, but this is a big get. Yeah, if you like Steph Nason, you're going to like William Carrier. William Carrier is an excellent player. He's a role player. He fits a very specific role. He's not going to set the world on fire, but he grinds. He wins board battles. He goes to the front of the net, and he scores on a lot of second efforts. And you got him for, let me put it this way. You got him. That was kind of the reason this team went out and got Michael Bunting. You got William Carrier for less money than you spent on Michael Bunting. And I really liked Michael Bunting, but I also understand why we traded him.
Yep.
Or I'll leave that up here in case you guys have any further thoughts on it.
No. Agree.
I haven't seen Carrier play that much, so I'm reserving my judgment because of that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a lot like Steph Nason in my opinion. He's like, I don't want to say he's an identical player, but he's very similar. BG says Walker's that dude, play solid on both ends. Fans will love Sean. Yes. If you liked Brady Shea, you will like Sean Walker.
Yep.
He's not an identical player, very similar though. Stole Chatfield from Vancouver, I believe. Yeah, so Chatfield was undrafted. The Canucks didn't sign him, and then we went and got him. And I remember being one of the first people. I'm like, yes, I'm so glad we got this kid. And they're like, who's Jalen Chatfield? I'm like, you'll see. And lo and behold, here we are. So, and we're a Coconut. Kyle said he was in Hawaii. That's really cool. I don't know if you live there, or if you're having like fun on vacation or whatever. But yeah, I just wondered where you were at when you said good afternoon. I'm like, it ain't afternoon. I mean, the sun's been down for an hour, but I got to remember not everybody lives on the East Coast. Travis C, what's up, buddy? What realistic expectations should the fans have this year? So we talked about this already, but Sam, you're here now, so I want to hear your thoughts on it. Griff and I have talked about it extensively on here. I think Metro 3 wildcard 1-ish type of team. What do you think?
I would agree. I would say probably Metro 3 to wildcard 2. Because just of how the Atlantic could be. I still think the Atlantic division is better than the Metro division. So I'm putting it in that range, but I definitely do think they become a playoff team. I'd be shocked if they don't. The worst thing the Canes can be in is the mushy middle. So if you, by trade deadline, if you think you're not going to make the playoffs, I'd just be like, you know what? We've had 6 or 7 years of playoffs. If you kind of like, I mean, I know Brendan Moore and the players aren't going to do this, but just from my standpoint, I wouldn't mind if they like maybe taint a little bit. I know they aren't really probably
get down to the lottery.
Yeah, get down to the lottery. You know, it's just I don't like that messy middle area. I just don't.
I don't either, because that's part of the reason we were in a drought for so long.
Now that you say that, Sam, that kind of, if you're at the trade deadline and you're looking out and saying, hey, it doesn't look like we're going to get in, you might start looking at some trades. I mean, Orlov could go, you could trade him somewhere, let him go on a playoff run with a team and get something in return.
Maybe Burns.
I mean, yeah, you never know. Maybe trade Burns somewhere to go on a playoff run before he retires, or, those guys are coming off anyway, or a Jack Roslovic would be a prime trade target if it comes down to it as a rental. Or, I mean, there's definitely, the other end of the spectrum, I think they're going to be a playoff team too, but if they're not, there's some options here that the team could do to set up for an already juicy off season coming up next year too. Right. So,
yeah. And that's one of the good things about a lot of the contracts we signed in the last couple of seasons. Orlov would be pretty easy to move at the deadline. Roslovic would be pretty easy to move at the deadline. If you really had to, Carrier, Walker, and Ghost would all be easy to move at the deadline. Now, I think the last two I listed there, the defensemen, that's not going to happen. I don't think they've got either one of those guys.
They've got term, right? All three of those players have term. If you look at Roslovic, Burns, and Orlov, they're all 1 year. You could retain 50% just for the remainder of the year and trade them somewhere and get a second round pick, first round pick, whatever. Maybe Orlov will bring in a first round pick. You never know.
Yeah.
Depending on what the trade, the landscape looks like. But that's the other end of the spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah. This team loves their draft picks too. So I could definitely see all that happening, but I don't think that we're going to have a problem making the playoffs. I mean, like I said, I think that somewhere around March 28th, we'll lock up a spot. That's when I think that it'll happen. And then we'll play the last 3 weeks of the season, figuring out if we're going to be Metro 3, Wildcard 1, whatever. And honestly, with the way that this idiotic playoff format is, we might be better off not winning the Metro or not finishing second in it, because I hate this damn playoff format. I mean, that's a subject for another day, but I see Papa Griff nonstop motor on Marty like Chatfield. Yeah, he just doesn't stop. He just keeps coming. Let's see what else we got here. Dylan Bollinger also says Martin Nook is a guy, when he retires, you want him to put a suit on and stand behind the bench, even if it's just for motivational speeches. I could see Martin Nook being a coach one day.
Yeah, me too.
I could. It's like, because it's like, well, what do you know? Well, I'm Jordan Martinook. I'm telling you to do things that I already did. I could totally see him doing that. Like, who the hell's going to be like, oh, you're just Jordan Martinook? Nobody's going to fucking say that.
If someone upsets him, he says, "I'm going to do my unbearable scream at you."
Yeah.
There you go.
Or, well, it's like, this is the guy who got knocked out by Evander Holyfield on the ice. That was one of my favorite storm surges ever, was Martinook getting clocked by Evander Holyfield. I know he didn't actually hit him otherwise because he'd be dead, but like, it's still funny. Just, that was one of my favorite ones. I wish I'd seen that one in person.
Could you take him seriously though if he's your coach? Is the question.
I'd have a hard time, but
Yeah.
I would totally do everything he told me, but I would also have a hard time not laughing about it at the same time. I could totally see Martinook being a coach. So that's one of the reasons I'm so glad. One of the biggest reasons we kept him. It's not just what he does off the ice. We have all these young guys coming up. He's going to be a really good influence on even players that are completely different archetypes than what he is. He's going to be really good influence on Nadeau, Felix Unger-Sorm, Scott Morrow. Where I think he's really going to make an impact, though, a few years from now, I think that he's really going to have a big impact on Jackson Blake. I think that's the player he's going to have the most influence on.
Yeah, you're good.
I absolutely believe that. Dylan Bollinger also says, I'm very excited about the re-signing of Jack Drury. Jack is a good utilitarian player that you can move up and down the lineup. He can play center and wing both. I'm really glad we kept him, and we gave him, and he signed a pretty good deal in my opinion.
Yep.
Let's see. Eric Heinke also says, I think Carolina win the Metro this year, second, 48 to 50 plus wins. I don't know, man. That's going to be rough. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility by any means, but because New Jersey did get better, Washington got better. And let me throw my biased dislike of the Caps out here while I'm at it, but at the same time, Washington did get better, but they did not get groundbreakingly better like they think they did. They think that they built a cup contender, and they did not. They will probably make the playoffs. We will probably be competing with them for Metro 3 wildcard 1-ish. I can definitely see that happening. I can see us playing against them in a Metro 2 and Metro 3 matchup. I can totally see that. But they did not build the team that they think that they built.
I think this team is going to be kind of opposite of what we've seen. I think they're going to grind through the regular season. They'll get in, but it won't be – I don't think we're going to see 48 to 50 wins. I mean, it could happen. You never know. But I think that this team would be one to get in and go on a deep run.
Yes.
That's what I would – that's that. If we make a deep run, I think that's how.
Well, there's no expectation on this
That's
team.
what I'm saying. Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to that, honestly.
That's what I'm saying.
Having expectations the last couple of years has been annoying. I'm glad that there's none this time. Like I said, it'll be the 2018-2019 season again. It was just fun up until the end. Let's see what else we got here. Eric Heinke says Martinook replaces Rod in the near future. Rod moves up to the front office. I think Rod's just not going to do anything after he's done coaching. I think he's just going to he's made his money now because Rod didn't make that much as a player. I think that he's just going to kick his feet up, and they'll call him and ask him for things, and he'll be like, sorry, my office is closed, and he's going to hang up and go coach his kid.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to, and he shouldn't have to either. He's done more for this franchise than anybody has. If it wasn't for him, this team might be in fucking Houston or Quebec or something. And I mean that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. You'll see him around though. He won't be he won't disappear. He'll be like a Cam Ward is now. He pops up from time to time.
Justin Williams.
Yeah. Of course. Well, Justin Williams works in front office, but
he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see him taking like some sort of small role maybe in the front office, but he's not going to be like the next GM or anything like that. Now, if he were the next GM, then you would see a team completely full of grinders, and that would be actually kind of cool. But it would be like, oh my God, how are they winning so many 2-1 games? It's annoying. So like, yeah, I personally do. There's two guys on this team I could definitely see being a coach: Brent Burns and Jordan Martinook. Those are the two guys I could see being a coach. Brent Burns is another guy I would have a hard time taking serious, though, if he doesn't get his teeth replaced and trim his beard a little bit. Then I would be like, it's not that I don't value what you're telling me, bro. It's just you're funny looking, like in a cool way. But I could definitely see, and those guys are they're very good with the younger kids and everything like that. I could see both of them being a coach. I really could. Now, the last thing that we have to cover here, now that we are caught up on all the topics, because we did talk about Fost being out of the neck brace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So last thing here, there was a lot of speculation that Necas was not going to come to North America at one point. I think after the KHL, Nikishin, yeah. I think that did I say who did I say?
You said Necas.
You said Necas.
My bad. Different name starting with N. Nikishin. There was a lot of speculation that he may not come to North America. Well, I think that what we saw at the NHL and KHL All-Star game, I think that kind of puts that to bed. And the funny thing I find about Nikishin, he's like an overgrown child sometimes. He was like afraid to get in the picture, and Svech and Dima had to like grab him and be like, no, come over here. You can be in the picture. So I think that he not only is he going to be here, he's excited about being here.
Yeah.
I think that's what you need to probably get from the pitcher. It makes us fans optimistic.
Yes.
It's like he's being inducted already into a family that he's going to be in. And I mean, the closest probably going to be maybe right before the playoffs this season, but definitely the season after this upcoming one.
Yeah. The only downside, if you brought him in right before the playoffs this year, it's like they're not going to play him. They're not going to bring anybody out of the lineup to put him in there. If there's an injury, sure, but
yeah, I think it was good. I think this was a good opportunity for mainly Svech and Kochetkov to meet him, talk to him. Assuming I know he did an interview recently with some Russian news source that he was like, "No, I've never met anybody on the team." So I think somebody texted him when he got drafted, but reports were that Svech spent some time with him this week before this game. And so, you could tell that they had spent some time together just because post game, if you saw the video, he was kind of trying to photobomb their picture. And then they realized he was back there. And then, it was this whole joke, and then they let him in the picture. So,
yeah, no, I was really happy to see that too.
Yeah, I think, and his agent was interviewed recently and said, hey, he's planning on going to North America next season, and so it's happening. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then the other thing about it is like in that interview he did with the Russian podcaster, he said something about, I don't remember exactly what his phrase was, but he said something about he was nervous to talk to Svechnikov or something like that. Or I don't know if it was I don't know. I'm trying to like remember exactly what it was, but he said that he hadn't spoken to Svechnikov, and it was almost like he was like reluctant to for some reason, not because he didn't like him, but just because like maybe he's just not like, he didn't know what to say to him maybe, or something like that. So now that there's been the ice has been broken there, so to speak. So, but that we have a lot to look forward to. We really do.
Yeah.
Let's see, Papa Gross got another one here. What's going on? I believe his name is Ryan Suzuki. Any updates or news on him? I think he's just an organizational depth piece at this point. Unfortunately, injuries have kind of derailed how he could have been.
They signed him. They signed him to They signed him to a 1-year, 2-way deal. So, I mean, expectations are that he'll play in Chicago.
Yeah, that's what I think. And honestly, we're a KK bounce back from the center depth discussion being out the window. That's all we got to do is we get KK back to playing well. And then, if we still have, Jack Drury in a few years, which I think we will, then when Jordo retires, we already know who's filling that third line spot. The team's in a good spot down the middle. It was a log jam. Now I think we're kind of at that happy median thanks to Kuzi going back overseas. All right, boys, that is all I personally have. Do you guys have anything else?
No, I think we covered it all. Again, 82 days from opening night. So,
all righty.
That's
Sam.
KK
Do you have
days.
anything else, sir? That's KK days until that. That's another reason why I'm glad we talked about KK today. But yeah, eventually I'm gonna have a video that I do about him, like specifically, and I'll have all you guys on to do to give your opinions on it and everything like that. It'll be like one of those little 10-minute standalone type of presentations, and then I'll bring you guys in and we can all talk about it from there.
Awesome.
That'll be sometime after the 31st, because so I do the nose getting fixed thing on Wednesday, and then when they pull the little splints out of my nose and I don't sound like Squidward from SpongeBob anymore, then I'll start making videos again, but I'm going to be out of it for a little bit. So I'm going to be on Percocet on Wednesday, so don't take any of my texts seriously. Actually, I'm going to just have Desiree take my phone away from me before bad shit happens.
No judgment.
Yeah, I'm going to put that on my little pin comment on X. I am on Percocet from this date to this date. Don't take anything I say seriously.
Oh boy.
Papa Griff also says, great show, guys. Yeah, thanks to you guys. It's a great show because y'all coming in here and talking to us and everything like that. It makes it a whole lot more fun to have it be interactive and everything. That's why another reason I love having these guys on is we get to like bounce ideas off of each other, talk about stuff. And, you know, there's been times where these two in here have said things and it made me like think differently about something because it was thought provoking. It made me think of something I wouldn't have thought of on my own. So Coconut Kyle, nose broken. Oh man, had that long time ago. Good luck. Yeah, it's basically, it's like I only have like 40% of my airway, so it's like they're gonna like go in there and break it and realign the cartilage and reduce the turbinates, and then I'll actually sleep well for the first time in my whole life. So
sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna suck for a few days, but it's gonna be worth it. Alrighty. Gentlemen, this has been a good show. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. This has been great. Thank you, all of you that joined the show and everything like that, and the chat and everything. Appreciate y'all being here. This has been fun. We needed this.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Sam, your newest episode is going to be out in the morning, right?
Yes, I right before I came on, I just finished it. So, yep.
All righty, cool. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for everything. Everybody else, Thank you for everything. Let me end the stream now. Thank you, guys. Oh, let everyone know where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. So, Caniac Sessions on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us there at Caniac Sessions. We go live on YouTube, usually Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights. And then if you'd missed that, you can either watch it on YouTube, subscribe, or you can catch it, the audio version, wherever you get your podcasts in podcast form, the morning following recording. So Caniac Sessions, look for session 52 this week.
And you can follow the Caniac Report, Sam and I, at Twitter/X and Instagram, both at the Caniac Reports. We release episodes on Mondays and Fridays, so look out for one tomorrow morning. Kind of going back to memory lane a little bit as far as episode. It's going to be fun. And if you want to follow me personally, it's at Hurricane Sam 10.
All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Later, buddy.
See ya.
See you next time.